One thing, and I don't know if you talk about this in the latter half of your book that I'm not seeing addressed here, at least for now, is industrial civilization and the fact that in order for it to continue, that takes a lot of natural resources, oil and gas, which also takes water, and especially even with my generation, I'm in my 50s, I've never really known want. I've always been able to turn on the tap, the water's always come out, I've had air conditioning, the whole nine, electricity, and that all uses water. What I'm not seeing addressed is the unsustainability of capitalism and the fact that industrial civilization as it stands cannot continue with us thinking on a small blue planet with finite resources that we can continue to live the way that we do and sit down and have drinks in the Hotel Ella and live in cities and drive our cars and swim in swimming pools and go to the Walmart, go to the H-E-B, go to the Kroger, and that the groceries will always be on the shelves and that we'll always be able to turn on our taps and the water's always there. So I'm not seeing discussed the unsustainability of capitalism and industrial civilization and the fact that this cannot continue. And in my opinion, I'm not as optimistic as you, I'm more of a nihilist. I don't think we can technologize our way out of this mess. I don't think that we can. So what is the answer? Is everybody going to go back to being anarcho-primitivist? I doubt it. But I think we're going to have the great die-off. And then when the population is whittled down, perhaps then there will be a solution because there are not that many people on the planet. But I don't think we can technologize our way out of this mess, and I don't think that we can continue living like we do. And like we drove 2 hours outside of Houston to get here because this is an important issue. But until the larger issue of industrial civilization and unsustainable capitalism is addressed, I think we're spitting in the wind.
Okay, any thoughts on that?
I'm Irish. No, I'm Irish. Okay. There is a limit. Malthus talked about it. We don't have any idea what that limit is. And Malthus's teachings were used to justify the inaction in the famine of 1849 that wiped out 1 million Irish people. So I prefer my optimism.
I mean, obviously, I think there is a breaking point, right? This can't continue forever, and there are people. I mean, I think to a certain extent, I mean, what we're seeing now is that a lot of populations are moving towards the west, which is drier, right? And so the fundamental question is, if you go back 200 years, human populations settled around water sources, the Nile River, wherever you had, like the Rio Grande, for instance. And now we're seeing that because of our ability to move water, whether that's from deep underground or from one river to another basin somewhere, we are having expanding populations in places that don't naturally have water available there. And so that will eventually reach a breaking point, and I think you're asking a very basic fundamental question, which is, should humans essentially live just where there already is an existing source of water?
One other aspect of that very quickly is that, again, when I talk about the whack-a-mole nature of this and how this transcends geography, I live in northeastern Pennsylvania, on top of the Marcellus shale play, the second largest shale play in the world. The resources that are used to frack wells in my neighborhood, you know what? They don't really dent the water supply in northeastern Pennsylvania. I live in a very wet place, but you know what? They do have an impact on Fort Worth. They have an impact on Fort Worth because the wealth that is produced by the wells on my land in Pennsylvania doesn't stay in Pennsylvania. It goes to Fort Worth. It creates the affluence that turns around and creates the increased demand for water there. So I can turn around and tell you that, okay, you know what, it's not having that big an impact on the Susquehanna River. But let's talk about what it's doing on the Trinity.